My guest today is Jill Quick, the brilliant and engaging co-founder of the Coloring In department. Jill has a well-earned reputation as one of the top presenters on topics related to analytics. A short list of the conferences she's presented at includes SMX London, SearchLove, Learn Inbound, and Hero Conf. If you've never heard Jill present before, she's really exceptional. She's entertaining and funny while packing in a ton of practical advice. Plus, her slides look better than anyone else's. As a matter of fact, take a look at anything the Coloring In department produces. Their graphic design and storytelling approach is really exemplary. Jill and her team provide training and consulting services to everyone from Fortune 500 companies to small businesses. The Coloring In department has managed to keep the cost of their online Google Analytics training course remarkably affordable. This is a bit of a departure from our typical Suds and Search. Jill's beverage of choice is gin. So she joined me to drink some gin, talk about analytics, and homeschooling during the shutdown. Jill Quick, thanks for coming on Suds and Search. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks so much for doing this. You responded to my email and said you're a big gin fan. And I drink gin it's like 80 degrees here in Chicago. I love it when the weather gets warm. So it's just perfect timing. There's a gin that I wanted to try from Cobalt. I bought the bottle because it's just like a pretty bottle of gin.
Oh, that is pretty.
From
That's
Cobalt,
nice.
right down the street from us. So I thought we might have some gin and talk about analytics and what's going on.
What a combination. What a combination.
What a combination.
It's like my two loves in life just coming together, and this is classed as work. This is amazing.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, cheers to you. I'll do like a virtual cheers.
Chin chin.
And chin chin. And I want to hear a little bit more about that glass. I know we talked a little bit before the.
Yeah. So
that's unbelievable.
I don't know if you have these in America. In the UK, when you have, because gin's always been a big thing, I think, but it's had its comeuppance, hasn't it? So you can get these really lovely big glasses now. Like, I don't know if you call it a goblet. I'll go with a glass goblet. And this is from a distillery called Cuckoo Gin, which is a distillery down the road from my mother and father-in-law's. And they buy that much gin. They're not alcoholics, but they go in that frequently to buy gifts for me and my other brother-in-laws and sister-in-laws, that the owners were like, would you just like a glass? Would you just like to have a set? And they were like, oh, yeah. So, it makes a nice little, I don't know if you can hear that.
I can hear it.
Like a little, it's just nice. It's like wind chimes, but better. It's just lovely.
Yeah, exactly. Just a little bit nicer sound. Oh man, this is really great to do this.
Well, they call it as well, being a mum as well. The nickname for gin, I don't know if you know this, is called Mother's Ruin.
I haven't heard that.
And it's
That's
only
awesome.
from having small children where I'm like, they just won't sleep, they just won't shut up. And I'm like, I can totally see why mums at the back of the day just kick it and go, I'm sod it, I'm having a gin. Yeah.
Unbelievable. I love it. Well, let's transition a little bit into your day job.
My day job.
Yeah, the founder, owner of the Coloring In department.
The Coloring In department, yes. So I'm the co-founder along with my business partner, Aidan Carroll.
Fantastic.
And yeah, we set up the company officially about 2 years ago, but the journey, also alcohol related, we both met each other in the same circles. We both trained in digital marketing for the same people. We kind of all got hired by the same training houses. And I knew of him, but I'd never met him until I was pregnant with my youngest. And I had to hand over my analytics workshops and some of the workshops that I was doing at General Assembly to Aidan in safekeeping because I was going to come back. And he was really nice about it. Some people could be a real dick about it and like steal your work. And he's like, no, I'll look after it. And then he gave it back. And we then started working on some longer digital marketing programs together and found that we worked really well. It was like we had a collective, non-competing, complementary skill set.
Okay.
And being and you'll probably appreciate this because you're in an agency, because we were working for ourselves as freelancers, so we did consulting and did training. I missed Christmas parties. Like I really missed it. I missed taking people out. It's like oh no, I've got to go out with clients and drink champagne. It's like and I said, I'm really annoyed I don't get a Christmas party anymore. And he went, we should do one together. So we went to the Dorchester on Park Lane. And about 4 cocktails in, I said, I've got an idea for a company called the Coloring In department. And if you've chuckled at the name Colouring In, it's kind of the slurred phrase I was given a lot when I worked in marketing. You know, you probably get it, you're not really a department, and you're the department that gets cut because you just make things look pretty. You just,
right.
we know you're there, but you're not really the revenue generators. And I thought, what if you owned the term? What if you took it and said, yeah, I am the colouring department. I am the creative. I am the art and the science. And what?
Just totally own it. I love it.
Jog on. Yeah, just push it away. And the style that we have with our training and our slides and our courses, it's this whole animated kind of pop arty style that we both
They're the
like.
Best. You are the most. You guys have the best slides, art. Is that you or Aiden or both of you?
It's a bit of a mix. So we both have really bonkers ideas normally when you're not in the office. I think it's totally true about creative processes that sometimes if you're locked in a room, it doesn't work. So me and Aidan would never have got to the point of saying, hey, let's go in business together if we hadn't have got out of our bubble and gone for a drink. And you don't have to drink booze, you can have a coffee or whatever. But just getting out of that office mindset, we decided to form a business together. And the same when we come up with ideas for our talks, we have, I don't know if I should tell you that we do this because then my secret's out. We have something called John Johnson Days. So John Johnson Days are where we put in our diary that we're going to go see John Johnson. And they're basically DOS days. They're I don't know what you call it in America, like a Ferris Bueller's day off kind of thing.
Okay.
So as far as anybody's concerned, I've got a really important meeting. I'm going into London. I've got a really important meeting. And we go out and have really nice meals. We'll get a facial. We go to a bar and we just kind of just have a bottle of champagne or a bottle of gin. And we just spend the whole day just going, right, what was really good about this last quarter? What would we do better? What ideas have we got? And as you kind of just sit and just noodle them, knowing that you've got the whole day and it's empty because it's 12 o'clock on a Friday and everybody else thinks we're at work, so our out of office is on, and you could just sit there and come up with ideas. And that's when we kind of have the we had a Christmas card where it was reenacting The Shining. So some of the pictures we have to we've got a designer in Amsterdam, we have to pose in the kind of positions and she'll colour us in, and then others it's just Shutterstock that we'll go give it pink hair, put a tattoo on it, that kind of thing. But it's a lot of fun. It's kind of it feels like it's a job but it isn't a job, but it is a job. It's I think that's when you find you groove, isn't it, when work doesn't feel like work is getting
I think so, yeah, when you're just running to work. I love it. And they are, you just have a great design. One of the things you're doing this coursework that I would think would be hard is that analytics, there are people who are truly beginners. There are people who are kind of intermediate. They know it fairly well. I mean, there are people who are true experts and it's essential to their job. How do you try and come up with a course for all these different audiences? I've heard you describe yourself as kind of a Goldilocks. How can you do that?
So with the probably this is probably you're drinking, isn't it, being interviewed? It's good going there, Jill. Words, come on, words. When we're trying to do our training, we'll go through a process where we're trying to understand the objectives and who's in the training. We'll try and do some sort of skills assessment, and then based off of that and what they say they want and what we think they want, we'll kind of come to a common ground and we'll build a program that fits for them. Because I think sometimes when people say they want to know something, that's not actually the question that they really want to get at. It's like the 5 whys, isn't it? You've got to kind of go in a couple of layers until you find out what the problem really is and whether they need us or not. And I've been happy to say to some people, you actually don't need us, or you just need to do this one little thing. When it came to the longer course, I mean, it's 10 hours long because you can't, a bit like how you've got a one-size-fits-all approach. It's big enough that you can pick at the bits that you want. So I did a webinar the other week with copy hackers, with Joanna Weeb up in Canada. And obviously they're very copy-centric in their audience. So they don't really care about filters and admin setups. They're like, just help me track my emails and how can I report on my content marketing faster? All right, oh, you just need these 2 modules then. So just go watch these 2 modules. We've made the courses really affordable because a lot of the training that we do, and don't get me wrong, our enterprise training is on par with what you would find from other training organizations, but coming from a working class background where I've had to pay for my education, everybody that we've worked for, and I've been so grateful for the opportunities of the training companies that we've worked for, but it's quite expensive. You know, you'll do a course and it's $3,000. You know, you'll do a workshop and it's 1,500 plus VAT plus expenses. And what happens is the digital skills gap keeps being as wide as it is because it's not accessible, it's not affordable. So in my drunken conversation with Aidan, I was like, if we did do this course, it's a bit batshit crazy, but let's animate it all because it'll make it easier for people to absorb the content. But can we sell it really cheap? And he's like, how cheap? I'm like, the cost of the 2 books you're never going to read because they're like this thick and it's the language is impenetrable. So what if you could talk to somebody like they were sat in a bar and you're just kicking it back and you're just having a little bit of a conversation? So the course has gone out for like $199. So and there's loads of resources. But if you're going to try and close the skill gap, then make it affordable because there's loads of people that want to learn. And now in our current environment, the pennies are being watched. So you do have to think about it. So I'm happy with the decision that a lot of people said we were crazy and we should have just gone in and sold it for a couple of grand. But I'm like, no, make it accessible. And then if you do need to kind of pick a couple of modules, you don't feel shortchanged. If you only needed 2 out of 17 modules, you're like, oh, well, that's okay. But if you want the whole lot, then, you know, banging. Yeah.
That's unbelievable. So it's about $200 and you'll get this expert training. And you're in your house anyway right now, so this is like the perfect time.
Well,
to
this isn't technically my house. I'm kind of self-isolating somewhere nice. So don't get your hopes up. We don't all live like this.
I get it. The other thing I think about with sort of beginner or my clients, even people, marketers, they'll look at their analytics kind of like a weather report. Like, it rained today or it didn't rain today. And getting people to take action. I just sort of notice a lot of analytics people will be like, I can help you so much, but eventually you do have to make decisions here.
Yeah.
What advice can you give to maybe marketers or to business owners who analytics are just part of the equation? Eventually you have to make decisions with it.
Yeah. So I always say to people, when it comes to investing in your analytics or your tracking or your agency to do it or your clients to understand what you're doing, it always comes back to the same question, which is how much is good data worth to you and how damaging is it to have bad data? Yeah. And I just let them noodle on that for a minute and they're going, okay, so give me a hypothetical. I'm like, okay, you just spent $10,000 on a Facebook campaign, but you don't know if it drove sales or not because your analytics is a little bit grubby. And the minute marketeers, I've got a fly in the room, that's annoying. And the minute the marketeers, you might see it on the screen, it'll be like, hey, as soon as you go into the boardroom and kind of fumble over the numbers, you have lost all credibility. Right. It's like watching, we have Dragon's Den, I think you have Shark Tank, you know, and they always go in the room and you'll have somebody that will start poking the numbers. What was the cost per acquisition? And as soon as they don't know it, they're all like, I'm out, I'm gone. Like, see you later. Like, your budget is gone. So if you're a business owner, and I know this because I'm a business owner, everything I spend, it's personal because it's money that is going to go out of my children's mouths. So I want to make sure that I'm doing things properly. If I'm the head of a department and I've employed an agency to drive growth for my business, I want to report on solid numbers. So once you get them to kind of accept that in no other instance would you not want to sense check that. You wouldn't drive a car and be like, well, I've not given it an MOT and I'm not 100% sure the engine works, but yeah, sure, go drive your kids to school. You'd be like, I'm not sure I want to do that. So you need to invest in it. Now, how much you invest in your analytics depends on, personally, your job role. So for some people, you don't need to know that much. You just need to know enough to be dangerous, to know what you're briefing, to know what you're looking at. If you're the person that's doing the implementation, then you need to be specced up on the latest analytics trends and get that packing. But I think sometimes with analytics, people run before they can walk. So running around and saying, oh, I want all the fancy bells and whistles, when right now you probably just need to get your account clean so that the data's coming in clean, and then have a conversation about what those conversions should be for the business and what you need to do to your analytics to get the conversions. And then you think about your marketing, is it tagged correctly? And then you can start going off into the candy shop and looking at the more advanced features. But a lot of the time, I think people are like, I mean, I'm doing an audit at the moment and they're going, so custom dimensions? I'm like, your marketing is garbage. Like you need to fix your tracking. And they're like, but custom dimensions. I'm like, no. clean
Yeah.
your data, it's quite, I think quite standard. So I think, getting the message across with anything, if you want to have nice, clean data, you want to outwork your competition, and all they're doing is trying to figure all this stuff out as well, aren't they, at the end of the day? So you have better data to make better decisions on, you win. You beat the competition, right, who are likely making the same mistakes that you are.
I heard you on a webinar it was really interesting, where there's this idea, you go into a meeting with someone like yourself, everybody comes out of it super energized about data and making sure we have no garbage in, garbage out kind of stuff. It's really good data coming in. And then there might be a commitment fizzle. And data discipline is a term I just heard on this webinar that you were talking about, and you had a great tip for instilling data discipline into your workforce.
Yeah.
Do you remember what I'm talking about and what the tip was?
Yes, I think this was the webinar I did for Majestic SEO, correct, I think, with Analytics and Jim Stern and Sarah Clifton. Yeah, so exactly right. I hate waste. If you talk to my kids, they're like, "Mummy hates waste." Like, you have to eat your dinner, eat the meat first, and then leave the veggies if you want. But yeah, we were having a conversation with a client a couple of years ago, and they're like, the agency, the guy that was doing their email campaigns, just refused to tag the email campaigns. He was just putting whatever he wants in the UTM parameters. And because of their audience being predominantly B2B and all their emails were opened on a desktop, all of the email traffic was coming in as direct because there was no parameters to understand where it was coming from. And we sat down with this guy and we're like, look, I know you don't like doing it. And I know it's only a couple of minutes, but we have to go to the board next week and tell them about this new initiative that we did with this drip campaign that we were working on, this automation that we did. We spent money on copy hacking and all sorts of things. And we are going to have to sit there with, there's no nice way. I'm not going to say the phrase, but you've got your bits out. You're just like, hi, I don't know what worked. And this is the problem with marketing. You can't come in and say, I have a warm, fuzzy feeling that this worked and hope for the best. They're like, I gave you some money. What did you make with it? What was the response? And you're like, I don't know. I'm not sure. They're like, that's your job, fix it. And if you can't, you're incompetent, you go. So we sat down with him and we said, look, if you don't do this, we're going to bake it into your service level agreement. You have to follow our rules, just lowercase, medium equals email. We'll give you a sheet so that you can log it all. And if you don't do this, we're not paying you your retainer. Like, you are voiding your terms and conditions. And that very quickly changed it. And then we flipped it to the staff. So all of the juniors that were doing it, I'm like, you want to get that promotion? You want to get that rise? Core competencies. It's like having people, and you still see this now, don't you? Like, websites where somebody doesn't know what they're doing with a disavow file and then blocks the entire website, and they go, man, we've just lost all of our traffic on organic. You're like, that is somebody's job and they didn't do testing. I think because digital marketing is so rapid, you can just open up a browser and send a campaign. We've lost the discipline, the patience to check our work before it goes out. You think back to agency days, like I was a bit late to the party watching Mad Men. People would meticulously look over copy, before it went to the printers, because if you made a mistake, it was really expensive to fix that mistake. And because you can just open up a web browser and make a web page happen or send an email out, I think we've lost the ability to just stop, breathe and go, is this right? Like, have we checked the links? Have we checked what we're doing? And we're talking about a few moments that can make or break a successful campaign. So it's just going back to basics, just, wash your damn hands kind of thing. It's like,
I know. And if you mess it up, it's like in your example of email, that should be attributed to email. Now it's indirect, and it's indirect forever. Like, it's not like you can go back and
the
fix
amount
it later.
of times I get people going, you can go in and fix this though, you can go in and like unpick it. I'm like, no, once the data's been processed, one cannot go in and change it again. And it's all anonymized. So, I can't work out if it was Bob in Chicago that opened it. Like, we're stuck. We're stuck with the messy data,
Yeah, and you're super interesting. A lot of analytics people I get to know are it's like this term data scientist. It's very, is that left-brained or right-brained? You're sort of really a marketer. You talk about customer journey. You have these beautiful designs. And then you have this, talk about a little bit about, I love that about digital marketing. You toggle between both left and right brain. But as an analytics expert, it was really something interesting about you, where you really are a marketer, and then you get the numbers too. You're really toggling back and forth all the time, aren't you?
I think some of this is probably attributed to me falling in love with marketing at a very young age. So I'm super grateful that I was 14 when I was doing my GCSE. So I don't know what you do in America, but the kind of the exams you do before you like leave high school. And I did a marketing module. So this was in like 1996 or something like that. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I used to love watching the adverts. Like my sister would be skipping them. And I'm like, no, I want to watch them. I loved the adverts. Cinemas are the best. The adverts on cinemas. I'm like, I'm happy. I'm just sat there going, that's a great advert. I love it. And then I went to sixth form and I did business, and then I went to university and I did a marketing degree, and then I got a marketing job, and then I worked for a web agency, and then I did 2 postgrads in marketing. So I have been doing this for well over 20 years. Like I just love it. I can't imagine doing anything else. And I think with my brain, I'm dyslexic. My little boy is ADHD, autistic, and dyslexic gene pool going on there. My dad's autistic. So I think there's also a little bit of lateral thinking going along, that my brain is quite process driven. And what I do is kind of trying to, toggling back and forth is a good way of describing it. But I think having that marketing love from a heart, I fell into analytics by accident. And when I say by accident, I wanted to piss off sales, like, because I was in a meeting and I just had this argument with this lad where he's like, yeah, I don't know why you're here. Like, we're all having a drink, like chatting about our results. And he's like, my sales team pretty much drive all the growth. I have no idea why your department exists. And he's being deadly serious. He's like, I'm talking to the MD to see if I can get 2 of your guys sacked so I can take the budget and get some salespeople, because we really drive the sales. And I was so mad. And I went home and I'm like, I need to prove him wrong. And there's a quote from a data scientist, which I love, which is, without data, you are just another person with an opinion. And I just had an opinion to go, well, I think marketing's working. So there, that doesn't go well in the board meeting. So I was doing my postgrad at the time, and I was being taught analytics by Dave Chaffee from Smart Insights and a guy called Matthew Todd, who sold his business to PwC, like proper data geeks. Had 3 days where they went through it and I cried. I was like, oh my God, this is so hard, because it was, the jargon was just unnecessarily complicated. And then I figured it out and I worked it out. And then it was just so lovely to turn up to a meeting with clean numbers to say, my team and all of our costs associated with it, this is how many website visitors, this is what they did, this is the assisted conversions, and then gave them insights on what I was planning to do with the rest of the budget for the year. And the board were like, yeah, there's your money, Jill, here's your check. You know, it was wonderful. And this guy was so mad. He was just like, but, and I was like, no, we still need you guys, but you can't be saying that one lives without the other. Marketing and sales still are attached. We do need each other, but let's work with each other. And I kind of won him round a little bit, because we found a way of stitching our analytics to the sales database, so we could actually see the leads that I gave him. Because I was like, I'm going to be a grown up here. If I give you leads and I don't know if they convert or not, I could be giving you trash. Like, I could be. So we worked out how to stitch the plumbing so that I could find out of all the leads, which ones converted and what value. And then I could trace it back to the marketing campaigns and do more of that. And then I started getting promoted and started getting bonuses. And I'm like, okay, this is a thing. Like, get better at the numbers. And when I started teaching about, I think it was about 6 years ago, I was like, nobody's going to want to do analytics workshops. And it's been really popular because the question hasn't changed for marketeers. If I give you some money, what do I get back from it? That has been a question since you've been able to print the press. So just get into it. Like, it's, yeah.
I love that it started with just getting mad at a sales guy too. That's fantastic. I
can't remember his name now. I want to say he was called Dave or Steve or something like that. It was,
There's a good friend of mine, Andy Crestodino, has a really similar quote to what you said. It's a play on The Untouchables, the movie, where he says, don't bring an opinion to a data fight. And like, bring data and you'll win. And interesting, he has they call Wine Web. His guest tonight is Joanna Weeb. I'm really excited to hear from him. So I'll be finishing my day with her. So
amazing.
All right. The last thing, we get asked questions like, Greg is big on the conference circuit. We're always getting asked about Data Studio. You had this really interesting idea of how to I don't want to mess this up. Kind of how to map the customer journey using Data Studio with some heat mapping and other things that I thought was incredible. I would imagine that you probably get a lot of questions about Data Studio and how
Yeah.
to tell these stories better.
Yeah. So the thing for me with data, and just to loop back onto the point of don't bring an opinion to a data fight because data will win. Data is only as good as the cleanliness of it, and data is a proxy for people. So you can have all the numbers in the world, but you have to attach the empathy side of it. You have to have the user experience and the user research, because you don't know what's actually happening with those numbers. And if we're taking that thought process of the user journey and customers and things like that, I think we forget that the people internally that we're reporting to, whether that's your client or your boss, we have to, in my humble opinion, apply the same rules that we do to our marketing. So if we're building a report to somebody, a bit like how you have personas and customer empathy maps, I'll have the same. I'll have a reporting persona. I'm like, who's this report going to? And then this is going to the CEO who signed off the budget. I'm like, great. If they said to me, oh, this is going to the technical SEO lead of said bank who's in charge of the day-to-day project, already in your head, you've got two very different people with very different needs and will need a different chat in terms of the data. And then I asked the question on, like, what is it that we're trying to show them? And it's that whole don't make me think, the Steve Krug thing. Like, if you look at that dashboard in like 5 seconds, an idiot should be able to find out what it is. My 7-year-old should look at it and go, you're trying to say something about the website traffic, or you're trying to say something about people coming from Google. Like, anybody can look at it and go, I know what you're trying to tell me. You've done your job in that sense. And I think we get so hung up on Data Studio and going, here's loads of numbers and charts. Right. And it's almost like the magical, mythical, don't look at me, look at me, don't look at me, look at me. And you're like, God, just keep it simple. So if you know who is you're reporting to and you know what it is you're trying to show them. So if it's the CEO who signed off the budget for the new SEO project, you can go, right, what do they care about? They care high level numbers. Is it working? Like, where are the traffic coming from? What was it before we started the project? How much money is this making me? What are you going to do next? And then thinking about the way that you could design Data Studio, I like to wireframe my reports before I build them, because I have spent so many hours and days building dashboards in Excel or something to present them. And it's like 10 hours work. And then somebody goes, oh yeah, can you just move that over here? And I don't want that there. And I'm like, oh my God, that is like all my day gone. And it's so frustrating. I started wireframing the reports to go, I'm going to build you this report. I'm going to do a pie chart because it's going to be easier to see where your traffic's coming from in terms of Google or Bing or Yahoo. And then I'm going to have a number that says, and here's our conversion rate. And you're going to have user-centric titles, because not everybody knows what it is you're looking at. So you will write something in plain English like, how many users came to the website from search?
So smart. Yeah.
Question mark. And then the numbers are on there. You'll then put, and how much money did we make from search? No. And then how much more is this from the last 3 months? That kind of thing. It's the same thing with building in Data Studio the heat maps. That's just a way for your brain to go, oh great, I can see without even looking, my eye can go, that one's doing better, isn't it? Oh yeah, it is, because it's the darker color. So bar charts and heat maps, so that they can just look at it. If it crosses their desk, they can go, no questions, carry on, do what you're doing. Yeah. But if you're doing this to the technical SEO lead, they're going to need something a little bit more meatier, slightly different metrics. But you don't have to give them everything. So it's just cherry picking the story you want to tell. A tip that I had from somebody, which I thought was really useful, I think it was from Jerry White, at Rise at 7. He was putting his name details on the top, who wrote this report. Yeah. You get a lot of reports that are sent, and then if you want to ask a question about it, you're like, and who does this belong to? And that is just a simple like hyperlink to go, Jill made this dashboard and here's my email address if you want to contact me about any of this information. Like, it's just thinking about that user experience and the customer journey for your internal stakeholders, because they're the ones at the end of the day that are keeping us in a job. So that extra time, to then make Data Studio faster. And for me, have you ever worked with it? It's like a blank canvas. And the first time I opened it, I'm like, what the hell? Like, where do I even start? If I've got a wireframe, I'm like, oh, and I'm looking for this dimension, and I'm looking for this. I can build reports real quick now because I've got it on a dashboard, pre-approved and signed off before I even go in and build it. Magic.
That's awesome. Well, I know it's getting late there. I want to, before we leave, we were talking about something before the camera started rolling, and I understand that Greg Gifford is your drug mule. To get this on camera before I let you go, what are you having what are you having Greg curry through international waters?
Yeah, they go like drug mule. I really like face masks and things like that. Face masks and gin are probably my vices. So if I'm ever at a conference, I'm normally packing about 5 sheet masks, just because you can sit in the hotel and just put your face mask on and feel a bit better. But yeah, there's some products that you can only get in the United States of America. We can't get over here. So when I found out that I was going to see Greg in, I think we're both speaking at SearchLove together, I was like, Greg, if I gave you some money, could you go to Sephora and get me some Drunk Elephant like face products, because I can't get it over here? And he's like, sure, that's fine. And I'm like, yeah, thanks. And he's like, okay. I was like, and when he said yes, I was like, can Aidan have one too? So he's like, so he's getting it. And I was so disappointed that the conference circuit's being like finished this year because I've run out. And I'm like, yay, I'll see Greg in April. Oh no, that's not happening. Brighton SEO isn't happening. So I'm going to have to wait and get wrinklier until I next see Mr. Gifford to bring me my fix.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
The last thing, I have kids 5, 3, and 10 months. And so I wanted to talk to you about homeschooling a little bit. You had this great post about homeschooling and some tips. You mentioned your son who has autism, ADHD, and your post, I would say, of everything else on here, I recommend anyone who's a parent, check it out. It was so fantastic. You have named the school.
Oh yeah, Pokemon Unicorn School.
I want to make sure everyone knows what it's called. What is the homeschooling experience been like for you? That's so much fun.
It has been. It's been frustrating. It's been. I think that the teachers need to get paid more. I'm not going to buy them chocolates at Christmas. I'm going to buy them pure liquor, because how they have the patience with children, I don't know. I think for my son, the blessing that's come out of the curse, so to speak, we've been able to really understand a lot more about his neurodiverse needs, and I've been able to adapt what we're doing. And we've got such a wonderful school that we've been having weekly calls with the special education needs team so that we can tweak what we're doing, because I'm just a mum. I'm trying to work this out, just as we're all winging it at the end of the day.
Right.
And for my daughter, like, she's loving it, like, 'cause she's she's just, I don't know if it's a boy girl thing, but like she'll just sit, and as long as she can wear a tutu, she's like, I'm fine, I'll just sit here and like learn my words. And she's just at that age where everything, she wants to show you everything, she's like, I made a photo and I've learned the ch sound today, and you're like, yay. So it's been good. I'm gonna look forward to sending them back in September, because it is hard work, it is relentless. And I think that blog post came out of our schools got locked down, or they announced it on like the Friday, or was it the Thursday night? Basically there was like a day's notice to go, tomorrow we're going to give you loads of stuff, and as of Monday your kids can't come into school. And I was a bit like, brakes on, being like, what? I work, like what the fudge, like what am I going to do? And I spent all Friday thinking, okay, if this is a little bit like working from home, so a lot of people, it's hard to work from home, isn't it? Like if you're a grown-up, it can be quite a weird flex. And we're asking our children to do the same. We're like, don't work from school, work from home. But this is also where we eat, and also where you sleep and play. And it's hard for them to understand, where do you switch home life and school life backwards and forwards? So I wrote the blog post out, and I'm going, it's not perfect, it's not brilliant, there's probably typos in there, but I'm like, here's how I'm going to manage it. And it was we named it. So I'm like, you're not going to school anymore. And my kids are 4 and 7, and they were scared. You know, they're like, are we going to die? Like, you know, are you going to die? If I don't wash my hands, will you die? And I'm like, okay, we need to manage this and try and make it a positive experience. So I was like, school's not happening anymore, but we get to name our homeschool. What do you want to call it? And my son loves Pokemon. So he's like, Pokemon. And my daughter would be dipped in glitter all the time if if she would get away with it. So I was like, great, Pokemon Unicorn School has been created. I made them wear their uniform. I know you don't have uniforms in the States, but we have a school uniform. But also, kids are expensive. So I'm like, I'm not buying a load of clothes. I'm like, you can wear your school uniform. And it really has helped that during the day, like when they're in their uniform, they know it's school time. And then we had these learning baskets that we created so we can kind of switch it. So at 3 o'clock, I'm like, right, you can go get your normal clothes on and do what you want, and have some sort of reward system. So yeah, I mean, hopefully it helps. But it's also the skills I've learned as an educator with grown-up digital training of how do you plan a lesson? Like, what's the objective? What are we going to do? And it was the safest way for me to go through my skill set of going, right, I work from home and I create courses for a living. Like I train people for a living. How can I apply this to little people? So I just wrote it out, and yeah, I've had some nice comments from some parents being like, oh, that's positive and nice to hear that other people were scrambling for what the hell do you do.
I could totally relate to what you said, where it's like both my wife and I work, we're like, what, like this is not what we had planned. So no,
exactly. I mean, I know it's the safest thing, and it's it will get back to normal at some point. But yeah, I mean, even like with the masks that we wear, my mum has been making face masks for the kids. So I think the WHO printed a PDF for the sewing pattern, and she got patterns so that we all match. So my daughter wouldn't wear it. So we were going to a supermarket. It was really busy, and they're like, if you can't social distance, you should wear the mask. And she's like, I don't want to wear a mask. And she doesn't like it because it's not girly. So my mum made it in like unicorn print. So I've got one and she matches. We've got a Tinkerbell one. Ethan would not wear it until we put Pokemon on it, and then he will wear it. And I'm like, okay, this is great. Like just buy some fabric that your kids like and then match it. I mean, I've got like slightly purple hair at the moment. The lockdown rinse, I'm calling it. So yeah.
Well, Jill, you're like my favorite person to have a gin and tonic with.
I bet you say that to every person you have a gin and tonic with.
I think I have like 3 a year. So yeah,
we'll get to do this like in person at some point. But I'm glad that this situation with our current climate has given the opportunity for more suds and searches with other people that are not in America.
I do too. It's been so great to have you on, and be sure to check out the Coloring In department and all your content you're producing. The best looking slides I've ever seen, and you guys are really fantastic. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you so much. I'm gonna go drink more gin now.
Me too.